Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of Intuitive Angling here. Really appreciate you guys taking a little bit of time out of your day and making some time to spend with me to watch the videos as usual. And today I got a good video with you guys. I'm going to give you guys some really good tips for what's going to help you guys this summer to catch some more bass and on into the early fall. And that is when to use like a buzz bait versus like the buzz toad, because there's certain situations where one works better than the other. We're going to get into that here in detail. Real quick before we get started, just want to remind you guys of the new products tab that we have on YouTube here. YouTube came up with this deal that we can pick out products that we think some of the viewers would like to see. And as soon as you click on the video here, down in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a little thing that says View Products. It only stays on there for like 5 seconds. If you click on that, it takes you to the products, and every time you click on a product, we get 20 cents for that, the channel does. So that's a great way to help support the channel here if you just like to take a couple seconds and click on that. No obligation to any of that there. So much appreciated with that. Okay guys, let's talk about the buzzers and buzz toads. We've got 3 different ones that I'm going to talk about here. One's the typical buzzer. One is the Zoom frog, which this is a pretty loud buzzing frog. And then you got the Zoom horny toad, which is a lot more subtle than the buzz frog. So different situations for which. First of all, I want to talk about one thing about the buzzer. You've seen this big trend the last few years about guys using like horny toads on the back of buzz baits. I'm not a fan, guys. I'm not a fan of that. I like skirts on a buzz bait. I think that you can do more with colors on them. I've just never been a big fan of the horny toad on a buzzer. I think that's another one of those things that's trendy. I think that a lot of people do it because they see other people doing it. Fly there. And I think that it's really overrated in that sense. So I prefer straight skirt. So I want to give you guys a little bit of the situation when I use what. First of all, let's talk about the buzzer. Buzz bait is a great summertime lure. It's a great lure anytime the water's over 55 degrees, but it's a really good lure to catch fish in the summertime under certain situations. The time that I like the buzz bait more than any other time, is in the hottest part of the summer, like July and August, that type of stuff. And I need to have some stained water. I found that buzzbait fishing for the most part in the summertime, I need some type of water visibility between 6 inches and 2 feet. And also I need shade. Shade is a big key for that. That's why buzzbait always works better, you know, early in the morning, late in the evening on rainy, cloudy type days, especially if you got some wind. One of the things that you'll find out about summertime buzzer fishing is you need some wind with it in order to especially get those bigger fish to hit. So if I start out in the morning fishing and say we've got like a 15-20 mile an hour wind, that's perfect, enough to break the chop up on the water. I'll start out with a buzz bait, cover water, just mainly on the main lakes. I like to look main lakes, secondary points, channel banks, that type of stuff, a little bit steeper banks. And I'm running the shade for as long as I can possibly find it. And that depends on the angle of the bank. Sometimes you're done by 8 o'clock, the sun's up too high. On some of the lakes that you have steeper banks, you may run it up until 10 o'clock in the morning. But one of the big keys that I will tell you with the buzzbait in the summertime is wind helps. Wind will help you get a lot more bites with it. Also, another thing about the buzzer in the summer is you want to fish them pretty fast. So I burn these things pretty quick. I'll use a stop and go retrieve, fish them, you know, pretty fast, try to generate that reaction strike. Now the other two, actually these are my favorites. The buzz toads and like the horny toad and the Zoom frog. These are my favorite buzzing frogs for the summertime fishing. The reason that I like these things is that the buzz frogs, like the horny toad and the Zoom frog, or the ribbit frog or whatever you're using like that, this will catch the bass that are feeding on perch and bluegills. And we've talked about that a lot here in the channel here, about in the summertime of the year, you know, have a lot of bass that are up in real shallow water feeding on perch. Guys, in my opinion, there's very few baits that can really compete with the buzz type frogs for catching those bluegill feeders. And the difference between the buzz bait and the frog is the frog and the horny toad, these will catch bass in a more diverse array of conditions. They catch bass in gin clear water, and they'll catch bass all day long. Normally what happens is I like to start fishing these things more into August, like late July and into August. There's something about when August rolls around and the lakes start dropping a little bit and getting real hot, that you got some good fish that move up into super, super shallow water. I'm talking about, you know, less than 2 foot of water. I don't care if it's crystal clear, gin clear visibility. And this is when these things really shine right here. So what I'm doing with them, it's like I'm going back into those areas that I think the perch are spawning in. Most of the time this is going to be back in the flatter coves, the back of the creek arms. I'm looking for flat banks with overhanging trees that have some type of cover in the water's good. Doesn't have to have cover, but it helps if you got a little bit of shade, overhanging trees, because the perch like to bed around that. But what happens is if you can find an area where you think there's a few beds a few perch beds, you can catch fish all throughout that whole cove, even not around the beds. So what I do with this thing is I'll put it on a 7-foot rod, 30-pound test, Seagar smackdown braided line, and just burn the banks, make super long casts, throw these things right up on the bank, because a lot of those big fish, like those 3 to 5 pound fish, they'll get up in this deep water in the summertime looking for those bluegills. So a lot of times, excuse me guys, a lot of times people throw these buzz frogs on top of the fish. So you need to make sure that you almost hit the bank with them and try to get that bait from the bank out to about the first 3 feet off the bank, and that's when you're going to catch those good ones on the buzz type frogs there. So that's the main thing, guys, that with them, these are 3 of my favorites. Use the buzzer under low light conditions, windy conditions, a little bit off colored water. It'll pull fish out of a little bit deeper water. And use your buzz frogs and your horny toads in that real skinny, real clear water. It can be bright. You don't have to have any wind at all, especially like with the horny toads. Since it's subtle, you can catch some good ones in the middle of the summer. No wind, slick conditions, bright sunshine, if those fish are up feeding on perch. So give them a try, guys. These things will catch you some good ones. A lot of people, while everybody else is out there, you know, breaking their neck, looking at live scope, trying to catch fish swimming out in the middle of the lake, you can be up there hogging them in 2 foot of water. So hope you guys enjoyed it. See y'all later.